Uh, Dora asked an interesting question, and I don't know if I should go into it because I don't like talking about other products, but I think we should sort of touch on here. Give me a minute. All right, so Dora asks, what about pendants that you can buy, or I mean, there's many of these sorts of products around. There's discs around. There's things you can plug into your PowerPoint that aim to neutralize, balance, harmonize, all these sorts of wonderful terms. Welcome to the GEOVITAL Academy. I'm excited that you're here.
Okay, here we are at the building site here in Thailand. So we're going to take some measurements.
Hold on to the wire. Yeah. There's this concept of electronic pollution.
I mean, we've been doing this for 35 years, but we're getting more and more involved in the shielding of entire homes.
All right, so this is our little demonstration room. What an opportunity to do a little bit of an interview with you, so people get to know you. Okay, great. Thank you for coming to EMFQ&A, where we give you an opportunity to sort of connect with us and ask any a lot of questions in relation to existing homes.
This is Patrick Vandenberg, your global radiation specialist.
In all the time I've been involved in this industry, of course, well, it's what are we up to now? 12, 13, 14 years. Of course, GeoVital has been involved with this far longer. All the consultants I know, none of us has ever found any of those devices to reduce our exposure to EMF radiation. So there's nothing that has those sorts of claims that somehow miraculously reduces our exposure. Then people often try and defend it. Say, well, no, it doesn't make it go away. It makes it so it's beneficial to you. Right. Okay. Of course, none of this is backed up by research. And even some people have some research to back that up. Dark field microscopist, I can't even pronounce it. Dark field microscopes. You can do live blood analysis, which is fascinating. I studied neutropathy for a period of time, and I did some study in Europe and that as well. I actually purchased a dark field microscope, and I played with live blood analysis, and it is fascinating. What I learned too, however, is that you can manipulate the outcomes. I mean, in fact, if somebody claims and that the pictures came from where they came from, of course, you can manipulate that. And there's enough lying going on in this industry, but you can, let's say, if somebody is dehydrated to begin with, and that's your before shot, and then you give them lots of water to drink, and then you do that again, you can already influence what the outcome of the live blood analysis is going to be. I mean, practitioners know this. So that is also open to abuse. So whilst I respect the proper use of dark fields microscopy, God, dark field microscopes, I know that can also be misused for intended purpose. So I take those with a grain of salt. So the upshot, I suppose, is that the aim of all of our efforts to live healthier should be to create more of an environment that is more like what we get in nature. Therefore, we should remove signals. We should not add signals to what's already bothering us. That logic makes a lot of sense. I hope you'd agree with. Now, somebody might say, well, hang on a second. I had this person and they had this disc, or they had this device, or they had this magnet, or they had these inlays in their shoes, or they had these underlays for their mattress filled with magnets. And they got that and they actually felt pretty good. How does that work? Well, I know a bit more about magnets and magnet therapy and pulse magnetic field therapy. That's a whole different subject. But from my study in this area, I learned from the works of a Dr. Ludwig, who invented pulse magnetic field therapy. And he was talking about the effects of magnets. And I think we can extrapolate that to other signals, which might perform a similar sort of function. Magnets throw out a signal that the body doesn't actually know what to do with, because magnets do exist in nature, but we don't tend to live on top of them. We don't tend to sleep on top of them as a rule. And so when we experience a signal the body can't work with, doesn't know what to do with, it interprets it as a stress signal. That makes your adrenals kick in. That's why you feel better. But 3 weeks later, your adrenals are exhausted. And now you're further away from home than where you started. And if you look at forums that are online of people that have bought those inlays for inside your shoes, magnets in it, or underlays for under the bed, and even some doctors recommend these things, and it's so wrong. If you look at the experiences that people had, they often comment that some people don't like it immediately, right? That's for sure. But other people might say, well, I got it, and in the beginning I felt really good, but a month later, sort of the effect seemed to wear off, right? And then 2 months down the track, well, actually, I don't like it so much anymore. I've removed it. So I think it's reasonably safe to assume that other things that create signals can do a similar sort of thing. Then there is, I know this is getting a little bit lengthy, but I guess we got to cover this one time or another. There's also substances that can strengthen you. So they don't function on a platform of making your adrenals kick in. They're things that strengthen you. I'm thinking of particular homeopathic remedies, Bach flower remedies, pulse magnetic field therapy devices, some small ones, some good ones. Certain crystals, not that I know anything about crystals, but I know that there are devices like Vega testing devices, electroacupuncture devices, where you can test with if a certain substance is something that strengthens you. So where does that fit in? All right. So my personal viewpoint on that is that it's okay if you have something that strengthens you whilst you're exposed and you can't help it. So if I'm going to go on a plane flight from Melbourne to Dubai, I'm going to sit in an aircraft. I'm actually a pilot, know a little bit more about aircraft. I would sit in the back of the plane, less radiation there. Also in crashes, the tail always survives, doesn't it? So you sit in the back of the plane, not over the wings, because you're between the engine, lots of radiation there. And you don't want to sit in first class per se either, because you're right up front with the weather radar. Lots more activity going on there. So you sit in the back of the plane, but still there's lots of stress going on a plane. And so I can't do anything about it. So if I have something with me that supports me during this period, then that's helpful, right? I don't have a problem with that. But I shouldn't then assume that because it's supportive during those high stress environments that I can't do anything about, that then is my solution to deal with it everywhere else, right? As in my bedroom, for example. Yes, I got 3 phone towers around my house. I got live wiring in the wall, electric field exposure. The Wi-Fi from the neighbors is on. My own Wi-Fi is on, let's say. But if I wear this crystal, if I put this thing in my pocket, if I do this, do that, I feel better. Well, my argument would be, again, we want to get closer to nature with less of these signals bothering us. It's a little bit like and I know this is a bit graphic, but let's say somebody hitting you in the head with a hammer every 2 hours, right? Maybe a bit more. I mean, not to damage anything, but it would give you a serious headache, right? Paracetamol would be supportive, but it's not a helmet, right? So I hope you sort of feel where I'm going with this, as in, if you can't get anything better, then this could be helpful. Paracetamol can be helpful. But what you really want is a helmet, right? You want to not be exposed. So yeah, when it comes to all these devices with all these wonderful claims, I think if it goes into the realm of use this and then Wi-Fi is healthy for you, I would stay right away from it. If it doesn't come with any guarantees and you can't get your money back, I think it's probably a bad idea. What I can tell you, myself, the consultants I train, our other consultants in other countries, it happens regularly that we'll come into somebody's house and we always sit down on the table first and we have a bit of a chat. And it's happened a number of times where somebody will bring up and say, "Oh, I'm glad you're here." And they bring up this plastic bag filled with stuff, and they empty it literally on the table in front of us. And they say, "All right, we got, before you got here in the past years, we bought all these things. And whilst you're here, can you tell us, what works and what doesn't work," sort of a thing. And it's mostly no, not, doubtful. And, they might have some air tube headsets or something, so they're worthwhile. And they might have some other few little things. But most of that stuff, it's all wasted money. And if you add all these things together, then sadly, you're probably a fair way on your way to actually shielding or protecting a bedroom, and that's the place that matters, properly, right? If that money would have been invested in that bedroom in verifiable solutions, holistically designed solutions, then it would have actually been money put to good use instead of got all wasted. I've heard of little devices you can put into your PowerPoints, and all they are is a plug that just fits into your PowerPoint. It looks like it uses any electricity, but it's not attached to anything. It's just a block of wax. And they say, "Oh, it was exposed to 7.8 hertz and it neutralizes you." 7.8 hertz, that's just a human frequency. So what? I put anything outside or even inside that goes through there as well. That's going to neutralize my house. We have to be smarter than that. So, if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is. Thanks for the question.